Hello people of the internet, how's it doing? Today we have another story to say about Cavan, and I have another story now. Listen to this. Now this might be a bit of explaining in the beginning to get the drift. So there was once these two children went to school in Cavan. I'm not going to say whereabouts in Cavan, but so we go with let's say some school in Cavan Town, right? It's a national school. And it was this brother and sister called Bobby and Fanny. And Fanny isn't named, just to say it is a name. And wouldn't you know, should they go to school one day, on a Tuesday? And listen to this too, it's 10 years into the future, right? 10 years into the future in Cavan. Everybody's still miserable, we all know that. You know who's in charge? Guess who's in charge of the country? Guess who's Taoiseach? Eamon Ryan. I'm like, oh jeez. And obviously Eamon Ryan's Taoiseach. And you know what the protocol is? You know what all schools and all colleges have to do? They have to have a picture of him at the foot of the classroom. And we're like, no. And I was like, oh, what? And obviously everything's gone green. Everything's green. The whole country's green. Everything's green. And obviously their brother and father don't like Eamon Ryan because half of every set has to go towards the Green Party. And so it's not the best. Anyway, on with the story. They go into school one Tuesday morning, right? The teacher says, we have an expected coming tomorrow. And they're like, oh shite. And guess what? They done a project on the environment, the local environment, right? Very good. It was actually a very good project. They thought so too. Now Fanny's friends think she's a bit loose and that she didn't do a project right. And also Fanny is known as to be a very loose character and a very I suppose let's just say she likes the rain. She likes going out in the rain with her wellies and with her umbrella. She likes that. Next day comes Wednesday, right? The inspector comes down. Inspector, you know why he was a bit late, but he was behind on the time, sure. And sure, Jesus, wouldn't you know what kept him, sure, Jesus? He was coming into Cavan town, sure. He was coming in from the Dublin Road in Cavan. And sure, Jesus Christ, you wouldn't guess what was in front of him. You wouldn't guess what holding him up. He told the teacher when he arrived in the scene, he said the county council were doing some work on the roads, and there was 17 of them staring into one pothole. And so they had the whole county council out looking into a pothole because they didn't know what to think of it. They never seen a pothole in their life. They were all there with the shovels, kneeling on the shovels, all there, 17 of them looking into the shovels. There was 2 people on the sign, twiddling around with the signs, didn't know where they were going, sure. And sure, they were playing around with the phones and everything, sure. Jesus, and they were on Snapchats and everything. They were taking Snapchats and saying, hey, Eamon Ryan, this is how I walk. And this is... But going back to the story there, sure. And sure, Jesus, he arrives on the scene, sure, and one kid down the road, Mary, or Helen, down the road was like, oh, he looks a bit weird, lad. And he said this to Bobby. And sure, Bobby said, oh, sure, Jesus, anybody who comes to Cavan's a bit weird. And sure, they were like, oh, sure, that's true, son. But yeah, she says he could be a loan shark. He could be, so he's something to do, he's something suspicious, there's something about him. And then Bobby was like, oh, sure, everybody comes to Cavan, there's something a bit wrong with them. And sure, that's what happens. And my phone went off. That's great. And sure, they go into the school. They look at the projects. And apologies for that again. So they go into the school, they look at the projects. And guess what? They go in, they sit down, the teacher's there. The inspector goes into the staff and they say hello to all the teachers and the rest of that. And wouldn't you know, one of the few students went up with him to, show him around the school, show him the artifacts and everything, what and what. And wouldn't you know, all of a sudden he stops at the classroom. Right, listen to this. He stops at the classroom, and there's this teacher, and she's called Mrs. Burnside. And he happened to know Mrs. Burnside from back years ago. And sure, yes, he had a great talk with her about old days. And then he finally, after 6 hours, he finally comes into the classroom. And sure, Jesus, it's nearly home time by the time he comes in. Sure. But sure, he looks at the projects. It shows what you do in your local environment, what your school do to help your local environment. We went out on a day with work experience and we done work with our local tiny towns. Very good, he says. Very good. What do you do every week? We recycle everything we can, all that, and we go and pick up litter around our school. Very good. You know, and he says, you know, how often do you go out in the evening times to help the tidy towns or that? And they're like, yeah, we do sometimes. We love doing tidy towns work. It's great. It's a great thing to get involved in the community. It's like, very good, very good. Your school has won a few green awards. Tell us about the question. Says, tell us about how, you know, how you've won that with hard work and dedication and with courage. And he's like, that's very good, very good. And then, you know, next page. The best thing about this, now listen to this. This is the greatest thing since history was made. The next page is about the local authorities. And what does the first question, I kid you not, it says, what does your local county council do? And you know, there was more marks going for this. There was 20 marks going for what your county council does. And out of the 50 children who in the class, and then in the school who done the project, not one of them said they do anything. Some of them said they don't do much, and they got a full marks for it. Some of them says they do a small bit now and again, and then they don't do anything for the rest of the week. So only work 1 hour a week. and so the inspector was looking at them and he was very intrigued. And then one of them said, we go up the road and down the road and over the road and back the road, but we don't touch any part of the road at all. And sure, they all got full marks for it. And sure, that was great crack. Sure, yeah, that was great crack. Just great laugh. This is great fun and great. Trying to keep my composure. And sure, when and he looked at this and then the next question was like, would you like to join the county council when you get older? And you know, the majority of them said, yes I would, we'd be lovely money and it'd be great crack, just one and one. And sure, the inspector was like, sure, I wouldn't blame you, sure, was kept for now at the Dublin Road by the county council, 17 of them standing on. And you know, and then the next question, last question, listen to this. How often do you see the county council? Listen to this. I see them when they go up and down the road. I see them at 8 o'clock going down the road at 2 kilometres an hour. They take an hour to go down the road. Then the next one, listen to this. I see them at 4 o'clock going home. That's the only time of day I see them. The inspector's like, that's very true. I see them at 4 o'clock too, because you never see them any other time apart from 4 o'clock. And sure, and guess what the twist in the story was? He happened to say, well, this was very good, but guess where I'm from? And the children were like, what? Where are you from? And the teachers were like, what? And guess what? He was from the revenue office. Well, that man never went out of the school so quickly in his life. So everybody got axes out of their tables, and everybody started running at them with the axes, because he was from the revenue. It turns out he was a spy. He's trying to figure out that they pay their taxes, the teachers, and it turns out he was told the truth. He was telling the truth. They never paid a tax in their life, and the school. and sure, Jesus, he never went. He went back up to Dublin in about an hour, and then he got caught. He unfortunately got caught back up in the council work, because there was only an hour left. And so they were still twiddling around with the signs and looking into holes and the rest of that. And you know what happened? When they found out that he was from the revenue, they all went with their shovels. And they started battering around the gaff. And so, Jesus, there was no such thing as that man again. So, and he never came back to Cavan. And then 4 o'clock came the council just went, let's go home. Left him just lying there with a few shovels battered into him. And so, Jesus, that was the end of him. I'm trying to get it half. I lost my composure there with the phone and everything. Oh, great crack.